আসসালামু আলাইকুম, আশা করি আপনারা ভালো আছেন। আমি আপনাদেরকে আমার যে একটা ট্রেনিং ছিল বুয়েটের বড় বড় প্রফেসররা ছিলেন বা ইন্ডিয়ার প্রফেসর ছিলেন, আমাদের এই টিপির যে স্লাজ ম্যানেজমেন্ট যে গাইডলাইন, যে আসলে অ্যাকচুয়াল যে স্লাজ ম্যানেজমেন্ট গাইডলাইনটা হওয়ার কথা, সেই গাইডলাইন অনুযায়ী আমাদের একটা ট্রেনিং করান। ট্রেনিংটা আমার রেকর্ড ছিল, ট্রেনিংটা আমার কাছে খুব ভালো লেগেছে। আশা করতেছি যে সকল বন্ধুরা আপনার এই টিভিতে কাজ করেন, আমার এই টোটাল 5টা ট্রেনিং পার্ট আছে। এই 5টা ট্রেনিং পার্টটা দেখলে আপনাদের সেলাজের উপরে একটা ভালো একটা আইডিয়া আসবে। আশা করি পুরো ভিডিওটা দেখবেন, যে পুরো ভিডিওটা দেখলে সেলাজ ম্যানেজমেন্টের উপরে আপনার একটা যে অনুভূতি যা আসবে, তো ভাষায় কনভার্ট করা ছিল। আমি শুধু ইংলিশ যে ল্যাঙ্গুয়েজটা আছে, ইংলিশ ভাষায় আপনার ভিডিওটা পোস্ট করেছি। পরবর্তীতে আমি বাংলা ভাষায় যে ভিডিওটা থাকবে সেই ভিডিওটা পোস্ট করব। আগে আপনাদেরকে আমি অনুরোধ করবো যে পুরো ভিডিওটা দেখেন, দেখলে আপনার সেলাস ম্যানেজমেন্টের উপরে আপনাদের একটা ভালো একটা আইডিয়া চলে আসবে যে সেলাস ম্যানেজমেন্ট বা কীভাবে করতে হবে। সেলাসটা হয়তো একটা ভিডিও দেখলে পুরো ভিডিওর সেলাসের উপরে আপনার আইডিয়াটা আসবে না। এই টোটাল ভিডিও হচ্ছে 5টা, প্রায় 2 ঘন্টার ভিডিও। আমি এই ভিডিওটা পাবলিশ করতেছি, আপনারা পুরো ভিডিওটা
ট্রান্সলেট করে আমাদের এক্সপার্ট প্যানেলকে উপস্থাপন করব। আমি আবারও একটু মনে করিয়ে দিচ্ছি, আপনাদের কমেন্টস এবং কোয়েশ্চেন্স করার অপশন এখনো ওপেন আছে। With that note, let me move on. I would like to invite Dr. Emmanuel Varghese to join in and share his insights on the management and optimization of sludge and also improvements in ETP for the textile sector. Dr. Emmanuel, over to you. Thank you.
Thank you, Muntasir. I am audible now. Yeah. Thank you so much, and this much encouraging participation is also a great thing. And let us move on to the presentation straight away. Next slide, please. Now, Dr. Abbas has presented very detailed and very deep into the source of the sludge which comes into the effluent. And he also explained very nicely what can be there and what actually should not be there, but is still there. So now let us move on to the area where the sludge is actually generated out, that is ETP. Where when we talk about sludge management, we categorize it as 6 areas, where the first step we need to manage the sludge is the sludge thickening, where the purpose is to reduce the liquid sludge volume, and there are gravity thickener as well as mechanical thickeners for that. And then there is sludge dewatering, how to make it into a solid material. And before we actually send it for disposal, it would be nice if we can reduce the quantity of sludge or make it more inorganic so that the quantity can be less. Also, the sludge is more inert. And the sludge disposal and utilization, often these two are combined, but the disposal is the most important part, which is actually handled by my colleague, Dr. Shoaib. So next slide, please. So when we talk about sludge thickening, thickening is nothing but just making the sludge thick. So that means it is less watery, but with more of a solids content. It is more useful for the biological ETPs because the biological ETP sludge, wasted sludge, is actually more watery than the combined ETP with the primary treatment. Now, if you look at the common thickening process, it has got a gravity thickening as a normal thickener existing in ETPs, or it can be also mechanical thickening. Gravity thickening is a plain sedimentation, whereas a mechanical thickening uses equipment, like which you could see the picture on the right side. It can be a rotary drum, which has got a perforated drum for separation of solids, or it can be a centrifugal thing, which you can see in the last picture, which uses a centrifugal action. And there are also less common but more effective mechanical thickening issues like flotation, gravity belt thickening, dynamic screens, etc. Next slide, please. Now, if you look at the gravity thickener, some of you must be familiar with it because many ETP in Bangladesh has this unit. It is similar to a primary clarifier, except that the bottom portion of the tank is much steeper. It has got a more slope so that even the thick sludge can come into the center. And it has got a unit called picket fence. The picket fence is like a fence, which will move around and make sure that the sludge doesn't get clogged. The process is very simple. You know, in a normal settling tank, we keep it for something like 1 or 2 hours, or sometimes 3 hours. But that is not enough to make the settling complete. So if we, in the thickener, we give about 20 to 24 hours, so that the thickening will be complete and we get a very thick sludge in the bottom. The key design parameter is how much solids we are sending into the unit surface load. For biological treatment, the surface load is normally 1 kilogram per meter square per hour, and for combined ETP it can be 2 to 2.5 kilogram per meter square per hour. And we have to note that the thickener only increases the sludge solids percentage. It doesn't reduces the quantity of total sludge we are handling. In effect, it only makes it simpler for the subsequent sludge dewatering unit. For example, if you don't do a thickener, in an ETP, you know, all biological treatment gives you only 1% sludge. The combined ETP may give you about 3% sludge. So if you go for a dewatering unit based on this quantity, it tends to become too big. So to make it smaller, we can always use the thickener, so that it can also make the dewatering more efficient. The disadvantage is it is less efficient compared to the mechanical thickeners, and there is a little bit of space is needed, and sometimes there could be some smell. Normally it is not there for textile effluent, but it could also be there if you don't take out the sludge periodically. Next slide, please. Now this is a very common unit which you could see in Bangladesh. It is very popular. It is called drying beds. It is generally used for small ETPs, and it uses gravity drainage of water and surface drying. Here I would like to mention one point. Many of the ETP people think that the drying of sludge happens because of the sunshine. So they say the sunshine is not there, so that is why my sludge is not dry. Actually, the sludge is drying in the drying bed mostly because of the filtration of water down through the filter media. In the bottom picture, you could see there are different layers of material there. The bottom portion is a drainage layer which has got a gravel, and then a smaller gravel. Then there are two grades of sand, the bigger sand and smaller sand, so that the water will percolate down. On the top of it, we can fill up to something like half a meter of sludge. And that half a meter sludge has got, let us say, 98% water. That water will slowly percolate down, and it is coming out in the form of leachate, which we can take out. In a sludge drying, but 80% of the dewatering happens because of this action, and about 20% happens because of the solar drying. Now, if you look at the right side, you could see once the sludge is dry, it will crack its own. And that is a time for us to know when we can take out the sludge. Now, one mistake many of us are making is the operation of sludge drying bed. What we do is we admit the sludge, fill up to some half a meter, and after one day you will see that the level has gone down. So they will add some more of sludge and again continue it. It should not be done like that. What we need to do is that we need to fill up the drying bed once and allow it to for next 3-4 days to completely drain out and dry out, so that you can remove the sludge. Now in the last picture you would see the filter media is almost as fresh as it used to be, so that even after removal of sludge it is still usable. In many cases what will happen, unless the drying is complete, when you take out the sludge it will also take out a lot of sand, and after a few operation of drying bed you will see the sand is taken out. So it is essential that we need to keep a cyclic operation. If there are 8 drying beds, that is the greatest thing. You can fill one, and the next day you can go for the next, and then day after the next. And after 6 days, the first bed would have been dried enough. You can remove the sludge and then fill it up again, so that this process can continue very smoothly. Next slide, please. If you look at the sludge dewatering through filter press, many of the units in Bangladesh also have filter press in their factory. Also next, so that the filtration is done